This is the Force and Destiny beginner game. It is the third of 3 of these sets which started with Edge of the Empire. The idea is to allow people to jump into the game with a heavily scripted adventure and pre-generated characters. So what do you get for your money? To start with, you get the aptly named Read This First pamphlet. It covers the basics of what an RPG is and a short example of play. If you already know what an RPG is, then you can pass on this item. Next up is the adventure book. Honestly, it's a little hard to know where the focus is of this box set in a way. I swap between the adventure book and the rulebook. Both have merits and both are flawed. Now in saying that, it is very important to remember what this box set is. I feel rather than a beginner set, it should be an introductory set. The difference might not mean a lot, but I think it's there all the same. The adventure book does a decent job of outlining the rules. In fact, it showed a couple I have been getting wrong. In that regard, the adventure book works very well. Where I think it fails is in the adventure itself. Now this isn't an FFG issue, these kinds of things across the board. I think the Pathfinder adventure paths are really good and very useful, but their free adventures from Paizo, not so much. It's a common problem and companies want their best for the paid product. That makes sense. But beginner set is a paid product. The adventure isn't terrible, it certainly isn't cringeworthy, but if the old cliche is you always remember your first, and this is designed as being a first adventure for new gamers, then this adventure needs to be a humdinger. It needs to show what RP can be like and hook them. Well, honestly, it doesn't. I admit there are some unique problems associated with doing an adventure aimed at showcasing the rules as well as RP, but that's why they are professional writers. It's their skill set, and the books in FFG Star Wars line are overall excellent. This should be too. The last book is the rulebook. This is a cut-down version of the hardback core book. It does not contain a huge amount that is in the core. However, having said that, there is enough to play what's in the beginner box and beyond for a time. I think after a few games you'd be wanting to move to the core book. This covers the basics and expands on a few ideas with a bit more detail. It adds a couple of adversaries at the back of the book for the GM to do a couple of made-up adventures. Next we have some tokens. These are decent enough and quite nice. These, along with the map, are a useful item to have. Next are the pre-gen characters. These sheets are nice. They are laid out well, attractive, easy to read, explain some of the stuff that's on there to help the player out, and are useful for the GM as NPCs later on once the players have made their own. Lastly are the narrative dice. These are a brilliant idea and it's a cool set. I do have one big gripe with them though. I paid $4 for a set of regular poly dice. These dice, if you have to get them outside of the beginner box, are $14.95. $14.95! Wow! And they are standard 8, 6s and 12-sided. FFG, you guys can help gamers out by not charging so much for the damn dice. Especially as the core book is $59.95 and doesn't come with dice. You could use the dice app, but again, you have to buy it. This is the only real part of the FFG Star Wars line that I dislike. Now, you do need to buy dice if you buy Pathfinder or D&D or nearly any other game, but you can get dice for these games cheap. And if you want to use a dice app, there are a bunch that are free. We are already supporting the game line. Cheaper dice wouldn't be a bad thing. Is it useful? Yes, and it is worth the money. I personally would like to see the rulebook removed and those pages go into the adventure book to make it one big adventure. Have it do the same stuff, explain the rules as it goes along, tell a story and be the gateway for new players. That aside, the set as it stands is decent. The stuff within that is good is good. The stuff that isn't as good isn't terrible. For $29.95, it's a good way to start learning about the new rule set and can give a new GM and players a couple of adventures before they have to decide if they want to invest in the game. The Star Wars books from FFG are the best I have seen for a Star Wars RPG. The dice mechanic is awesome and pushes story. They are beautiful, quality, and well thought out. I don't dislike this product. I just hold FFG to a very high standard because they have consistently been there. For the dice, the pre-gens, the rules and the adventure, this is worth the money. Can't wait for the Legends of Five Rings and I hope they will be doing a beginner's box for that. Please tell me that was good.